Welcome to DCL Talk Show on DCL Radio. Today is 9/19, and we are into a phase where the best teams, um, how do I say that one? The best teams of DCL are there right now, sitting there for the DCL Championship. In a couple of days, it will be a. I must. I mean, if I have to talk in cricketing terms, it's going to be a war kind of zone in Norway, where 8 teams will be fighting for 4 spots. Okay, with that, let me welcome our analyst, Imti. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jagan. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all our listeners to yet another interesting talk show for today. We had some interesting games last week and some good upcoming games to discuss for the next week. So hopefully everybody will have a good time.
Welcome to the show, Jesse.
Yeah, thanks, Jagan, and welcome all the listeners all across the world. And you rightly said, we are into the business end of the tournament, the most exciting times of the tournament when best of the bets have actually surpassed each and every hurdle and are looking into the final couple of battles, and just trying to be at the top of the heap, just trying to get into that satisfactory position where a win means everything. And we have some exciting discussions too today.
Okay. Meanwhile, I missed sending a notice. Invitation to our another analyst, Abhishek Sunkari. Okay. And before I send invite to Abhishek Sunkari, I would like to invite Ravi Ganta. Ravi, welcome to the show.
Yep, thank you, Jagan, and good evening, everyone. So we have exciting content to talk about last week pre-quarterfinal matches, and all the best for the quarterfinal matches this weekend. So we are going to talk some exciting content this week. Thank you.
Okay, so the first question I want to ask you guys tonight is, the DCL world is thinking that Rockers versus Pokeries is the best game remaining all, or one of the guys used worthless. Okay, so your thoughts, Jesse?
Yeah, in terms of contest, I would agree. I won't say worthless others, but yeah, if I have to call the best contest that was played that day, I'll say yes, and I'm able to comment in a confident way because I saw the most important part of that game live. I watched it the last 4 or 5 overs when Raj from Rockers went berserk. When he came into bat, they were 7 down. They needed 42 of around 4.3 overs, or around 41 of 4 overs, or something like that. And the match actually ended, I think, more than an over to spare. It was a complete demolition of the death bowling that Pokeries offered. I know they had some of the constraints with Avinash not able to bowl, and so they had to bowl Vignesh. No offense, Vignesh is a great bowler, but for the fact that they are defending and they do not want to concede sixers and fours, still they had to bowl Vignesh in the death overs. I think they had limitations. Pokeries had limitations in their bowling department, which was on show because of Avinash's inability to bowl. He just bowled 0.3 overs, and I think all Rockers needed was a guy with a clear head and backing his abilities. And ball after ball, he was hitting the ball out of the park. Amazing hitting. Each and every spectator, each and every supporter of Rockers team who was sitting there, after every hit, he was saying, I still think it's way too much to achieve. But that guy, along with his captain's presence, he just took the match away from Pokeries. And I think within a blink of an eye, the game was gone, and with that, the chances for Pokeries to cement their place into quarters and maybe semis and finals, which they would have hoped that they would have qualified. But I think a lot of credit has to go to Rockers to kept believing. And to be honest, I got to know after the game that the guy who actually played that fantastic innings, Rockers were almost on the verge of not playing that guy, but because of one of their premium guy, Narendra, he didn't play. He was playing an F40 game in Mishka. They went with him, and as fate would have, he was the game changer. He was actually the game changer, I think, for Team Rockers.
Your thoughts, Imti?
Well, I'm not sure about the comment about the other games being worthless, but definitely Rockers versus Pokeries was one of the very closest games in all the pre-quarterfinal games that happened last week. And also, from a results perspective, if you see, I think Brownstone versus Knockers was kind of unexpected, and the other games pretty much were kind of one-sided. I think if you look at the scorecards and the way the games spanned out, I think that is what I think the other viewers were talking about when they said it being worthless. But I think it was all in all exciting weekend with some interesting results, some good performances, some very ordinary performances also, I can say, if I can say that. But all in all, I think, like you said, the most talked about game would definitely be Rockers versus Pokeries, and I think, like Jesse summed it up, it was definitely a very close contest, and I think Rockers, who had a cool head, won the game in the end.
Ravi, your thoughts?
If you remember, Jagan, I predicted it was one of the upset games, that potential upset of the last weekend.
Okay, so you think this is an upset?
Yes, Rockets versus the Pokeries is definitely an upset, but there are a few more teams, Brownstown and GLCC quite comfortably, but still it's considered an upset. But at the end of the day, I gave it to Pokeries because of the playoffs experience. But they started really well, and unlike Pokeries and unlike DCL fall of wickets, they fall like in clusters. So that's what happened to Pokeries. And unlike Pokeries, they dropped multiple catches. I heard from Vignesh, and they dropped around 10 catches altogether in the innings.
Wow, that's too many, especially
that's
for
too many.
Yeah.
So that decided the game over there.
Okay, and let me welcome Abhishek Sunkari here. Welcome to the show, Abhishek.
Thank you, Jagan. Sorry I joined in late because I didn't have the invite. So, hello, listeners, and thanks for having me back, Jagan, Imti, Jasneet, and Ravi.
Okay, and we were just talking about the game between Pokeries and Rockers, and your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked with Rockers beating Pokeries because I was actually rooting and expecting Pokeries to win this game. Definitely, I didn't think that it's going to be an easy game for Pokeries to win, but given the experience that they have and given the playoff games, and Pokeries is one of the teams that that plays the big matches pretty well. They handle pressure pretty well, but I'm kind of surprised, but nothing to take away from Rockers. The reason why I keep saying Pokeries is because from the score sheet that I see, that I didn't get a chance to come to the ground to see the games, but from the score sheet that I see that they had 89 run first wicket partnership, and going into a playoff game with that kind of a partnership, and then 92 for one, and the second wicket falls at 92 and 118 all out. That is a big shocker to me, actually, when your key players like Satish and Vignesh are scoring so well. I'm surprised that players like Ranjit, Vinod, Ravi, Avi. I don't know about Avinash. I was wondering why he came so down the order. Probably maybe he had an injury or something. But I'm surprised none of these guys stepped up and took the game forward to the Pokeries. And they still had 118 on board, but 92 for the second, for the first, or the 89 run for the first wicket partnership with just getting 118 on board. That was a big shocker to me. Coming back to Rockers game, Rockers have always been a good team this season. I've been hearing a lot about them. Sai Tota has been an exceptional captain for them, and then well supported by the few other players. Narendra Anne, I think, is in this team, and I don't know if he played this game, but it was actually a good game to watch. But seriously, the Rockers held their pressure, held their nerve. I was listening to the way Jasneet was explaining this game. I think that he covered most of the points. Rajshekhar finishing the game with Sai Tota giving a proper support at the end. The only slight chances that Pokeris might have fancied is the fall of the 3 wickets that they had between the 17th and 19th over for the Rockers. Maybe Pokeris fancied their chances, but again, like Jasneet covered, Raj and Sai, I think they put on around a 36 or 40 odd run partnership for that ninth wicket. That's an exceptional batting, and in a playoff game while chasing, and then they're chasing beyond 100 score, to come up with a partnership like that, it's exceptional.
Fantastic. Okay. Before we get into our next games, I just would like to give a little bit information about DCL's Corporate Cup. 8 teams are participating this year, and as of now, only 2 games left. And it looks like 2 teams have secured their semi-final spot. One is Chrysler. Fiat Chrysler, and the other one is BCBSM. Yesterday there was a game between BCBSM and ZF. That game was a tie. Both teams, BCBSM scored 117 runs in 20 overs, and chasing that one, ZF scored 117 exactly to lose all their 10 wickets. Okay, and there are 2 matches left which will decide the 3rd and 4th spot. Most probably, I'm thinking Ford will make it to the semi-finals, and it's going to be between Tata and Benz at the fourth spot. Okay, and the next game of the night is FCC versus Indus Thunders. Indus Thunders batting first, they scored only 80 runs, but they managed to literally walk through the wickets of FCC very quickly. Jesse, I'll start with you.
Yeah, we are discussing
Indus Thunders versus FCC.
Yeah, I think this was one of the games where things might have looked as if Indus Thunders didn't put up a convincing total, but 80. If a playoff team backs themselves, I think it might prove out to be a good total. But I think the way Indus bowlers came to the second half pumped up, I think I didn't see the game, to be honest, but the way the scorecard tells me this, it tells me a story that they were very disappointed with their batting performance by putting up just 80, and especially none other than Verma contributing significantly. He was the lone double-digit scorer with 15, but nothing apart from that. And I think it's pretty disappointing for Indus Thunder, but I would say the law of averages would rather have them feeling okay that we didn't put up our best show with the bat, but still ended up winning. And I think Tejas and Hemant had a pretty good outing with the ball, and restricting them to just 80. As I said, they must have been gutted with their batting effort, but I think they converted all that energy, the frustrations, into their bowling, and they bowled pretty well. Dinesh leading the front with 3 wickets, doing the usual stuff, and with contribution from Chetan. I'm very glad that he's getting to bowl in this lineup, and 5 overs he bowled. He's a very impressive bowler. He bowls some canny lengths. He bowls in areas where you don't like sometimes. And FCC, apart from Ashwant, didn't have any answer to the questions that Indus Thunders were asking. And Indus Thunder is a very good fielding unit. So I think they implied the pressure pretty nicely. And once I think the kind of start that they had, they were hoping some sort of magic from Tejas down the order. But to be honest, when you have a stat like 5-2-1-3 on top of the order, I know they are all good batsmen, but if you ask me, the top 2-3 guys in this batting lineup, I think along with Hemant, Tejas is the guy they should and they most of the time rely on. And I absolutely don't understand this concept of saving your best batsman for the last. I mean, a guy like Tejas coming in after I think 5 or 6 wickets, uh, I I I think it's asking way too much from them. And I see Teju didn't bat. I think he had an F40 game, so he had to leave. And if you do these sort of stuff in a playoff games, I think you are bound to suffer. Overall, I think a better team won, and more deserving teams on a given day because they were more hungrier than FCC and they were more organized. That's the reason I think they won.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if I look at overall picture of this one, it looks like Indus Thunders have the best bowling attack. Do you agree with that one, Imti?
It definitely is one of the best bowling units for this season, I would say, because the way they came back in this game, just defending 80 runs. Because when I was following the score for this game and I saw the first innings, Indus Thunder just were able to make 80. I thought there was a possible upset coming up in this game. FCC just had to maintain their cool and play out the 25 overs to chase that down, but definitely came back and wrapped FCC for 45 runs. That speaks volumes about their bowling strength and their bowling unit. They have a variety of attack, and with the likes of Dinesh Pandeti and Manoj in the lineups, I think those are the two key bowlers I would say for Indus Thunders. And definitely, like the way they came back, I think even before that, I think this entire game was kind of a bowler's game because hardly batsmen were able to score runs, and the anything in the double digits was like golden at that point, I think. And to sum up this game, I think Indus Thunders has rightly proved why they are called a champion team and one of the favorites this season. So I would like to wish them good luck for the next game, but they are again facing KRCC. So we can talk about that game later, but I think Indus Thunders really deserve this game.
So I'll quickly go to Ravi. I know Indus Thunders have one of the best bowling attacks, but their batting is questionable. Your thoughts?
Definitely, Jagan. So they won the toss and they started on a good note. And once they lost Manoj at number 2, so that's when they started the fall of wickets keeps starting at the regular intervals. And credit goes to the FCC bowlers. So they bowl a good line and length, and they're able to pick the wickets at regular intervals. So that did not have the correct momentum for the Thunders going later in the innings. So kudos to FCC bowling unit, but definitely for Indus Thunders, bowling is their strength. But I would like to say batting is not their strength, but on a given day they can able to score big, really big. But definitely for Indus Thunders, the bowling is their strength. So once they lost, keep regularly losing their wickets. So they managed only 80. And coming into the second innings, the FCC started really well. They were like 30 odd for 2 around 9th or 10th over. So from that point of time, I think Dinesh came into the picture and he got 1 or 2 wickets. So it started downfall from there. So, but till the 10th over, FCC was in the game, and after that, they lost wickets at the regular interval, and they have no chance once Dinesh and Manoj and Vijay and Chetan, even Sunil bowled really good line and length. in this match. So it's too much for the FCC batsmen to overcome.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot. Abhishek,
Yeah, I thought you almost
do you
forgot
have
me there
any
a second.
suggestions for Indus Thunder's captain? I know he's your friend, so
Yeah, this being my team, I would point out many mistakes. That's been going bad for the Indus. And it's time to that they sit and discuss about this because uh, for the most of the games that Thunders played this season and for the standards that they have set in the tournament, it's not been an what do you call a collaborative effort from the batting unit. I mean, one of the batsmen have been clicked, and then there were 4 or 5 batsmen scoring just below 10 runs, and somehow they managed to get beyond 80 in this game. But a few other games, I mean, they've won pretty convincingly. But again, there it was only about 1 or 2 batsmen who have contributed very well this season. So it's a big concern for the Indus Thunders that they have to get their batting back on track, and they cannot expect 1 or 2 persons to contribute in a playoff game and when they're playing in quarters and semis. If you go back to 2017, that wasn't the case. It was a team effort in batting, either in batting, bowling, or the fielding. I think it's just that that they have to sit and then think about their whatever works out for them. Is it probably could be the order or could be some kind of sentiment that they want to come up with. But yeah, but it's a big concern. I mean, looking at this game, out of the 80 runs they scored, 30 comes out of Verma and the extras. So that's I would say that Indus would be pretty, the Thunders would be pretty happy that this game got over, and they ended up winning they ended up winning the game. But given their bowling standards, yes, I would say it's one of the best teams. But I wouldn't say it's the best team. But it's right there at the top 3 or top 4 for me at least, with their bowling standards.
okay. Jesse, what do you think went wrong for strikers? I'm talking about strikers versus KRCC game.
Yeah, I think they strikers in particular didn't seize the moment. To be honest, uh, it's a complete batting failure for them. I think they expected big things from their experienced campaigners in Raj, Parthiv, and Kapil to stabilize the ship and have some support for Parag, who fought actually pretty bravely from one end. He he played 64 balls, though he scored 29. But I think he had to play. He had to curb his natural game and had to play so many balls because of the wickets that were uh, falling on the other end, and they had the worst of the start possible. Kishore getting out on the very first ball, that can actually make things pretty bleaky for a side who is batting first. I don't know who won the toss, but if you win the toss, elected to bat first, go in, try to bat, and the very first ball, you're one of the openers who is a very good batsman. Kishore gets out. I think it dents the confidence and the ageless wonder in Ronak P. Patel. I think he actually bowled a priceless ball to Raj. I haven't seen the game, so I cannot comment about how good the ball was. But in any case, to get a batsman like Raj bowled is a big feat because we all know what a game changer he is. If he would have stayed there for 10, 12 overs, the score would be in triple figures for sure, even more. I mean, it could be on the higher side of 125 also because he's one sort of a guy once gets in, he doesn't make mistakes and throw his wicket away. He'll play safe, but he'll play long. So I think they actually played as a team more, KRCC. But I think after they reduced strikers to 56, what I thought was that the match would be over pretty soon and pretty convincingly. It seems like it did, but if they'll play 21 overs for 57, I think they played the situation more, which which is sometimes I'll call a wise thing to do because you have the resources of, or you have the quota of 25 overs. You can absolutely consume them. Why take risks? But what I feel is that striker actually, if you give them a chance, that okay, you are defending 56. What is your only chance to win a game? Is they would say that we can get a team all out. We do not have a bowling lineup that can bowl 25 overs and still win. And they came close to bowling 22 overs with Kapil bowling 2 maidens and giving only 8 runs, Braj bowling 4 overs for 11, and I think they were a little too cautious, a little more than I think they should have been. KRCC, and especially now they are playing another strong team. I think they are playing Indus. Uh, they actually have to feel more confident in the batting. I know it's a totally new game, it's a new day, but uh, it's a good win. But more than KRCC winning it in the batting department, I think they only have to thank their bowling department for reducing 56, because the way they batted, if it would have been in 80s or 90s, I think they didn't look convincing. But overall, a great win, and I think they'll be very tough contenders for Indus Thunders in quarters.
Okay, I mean we have very less time, so I'll quickly jump to the next game to with Bimti. But before I go to that next game, Jesse, in playoffs, okay, win is what matters. It doesn't matter how quickly they won or did they take till the last ball. Don't you
Yeah.
agree with that one? And you
I
think Knight
no,
Riders?
that's why I said. But what I think is you got to know the reason also. Are you up against a bowling lineup who can actually play, who is actually that strong that they can make 56 look like 86? I personally don't think the strikers are the strongest of the bowling lineup, especially if we talk about the 16 teams that were on the
I
display.
get
They have a good lineup. What I'm trying to say is they KRCC played a little too cautious for my liking. I mean, they are a team who thrives when playing their strokes. Apart from Bihar, I think everybody else in that team loves to go there, feel ball on the bat, try to play their shots. They took so long. They created. I mean, the match was always on. I think had the total been 86, they would have played differently, and that's why I'm saying it was not because the bowling was great. I think it was the playoff pressure that they have to. We have to be very cautious because it's a playoff game. We
Yeah.
have to curb our natural game because the score is low. If these things start getting into your head, I'm just saying in the next games, if they are into your head more, that can backfire.
Okay. The next game of the night is Toy Hawks versus Gladiators. I'll straight away go to Imti here. Imti, see, Gladiators scored 172 and Toy Hawks 24 all out. Okay. And is it right to blame the pitch there?
Well, I don't think so, Jagan, because both the teams were playing on the same ground, and I think I did watch the game, which was streaming live on Facebook for quite a bit of the Gladiators batting when they were batting, and at least I didn't notice anything that was odd with the pitch. It did look a little rough in the video, but I really cannot comment on that because I was not on the ground. So, but I think the two teams are class apart, definitely. And I think Gladiators made the most of the game. They just played out Troy Hawks completely out of the game. They won the toss, they batted first, scored that huge 172, and once they had that score on the board, like Troy Hawks literally did not have any chance there. And the key points I would like to mention this game is like Gladiators. We all know is a very strong batting unit. Compared to that bowling, and they have proved that yet again in this game with this high score. Two players get into their 50s, Aditya and Hardeep, and the way I think they accelerated in the second half of their innings is commendable in this game, because I think at the break of 12 overs they were 54 for 2, and from that point they reached 172, that is like 120 runs in the second half, like close to 10 runs and over. So once you have that foundation, I think Gladiators are always a very dangerous team with the batting lineup that they have. So once again, that is being proved in this game, and I really wouldn't blame Troy Hawks, but I think it was kind of an uneven matchup, because Troy Hawks making to the playoffs for the first time, they're definitely a motivated unit, and played some very good cricket throughout the regular season and came to the playoffs. But I think once they were playing against Gladiators, they needed a miracle to make a game out of it, which did not happen, and it was a straightforward game for Gladiators.
Okay, the next game of the night is Brownstone versus Knockers. Ravi, your thought? Brownstone is always unpredictable, and you never know how they are going to
Yeah,
play. But this game, they outplayed Knockers in every department, and especially they have taken Knockers' best bowlers. Looked very ordinary. Your thoughts?
gladly. I witnessed live. I was umpiring this match, and Knockers won the toss, and they decided to field. So maybe due to some of the players were leaving for F40, but at the end of the day, Praveen ended up leaving for the F40 without batting. Maybe that may be one of the factors. I don't know, but that might be one of the factors where they choose bowling first. And Brownstone gladly accepted the batting, and they started slowly without losing wickets. That was their primary focus, and they lost one wicket around fourth or fifth over, and they did not lose another wicket till 14th or 15th over. So that gave the Brownstone momentum for the big hitters in their lineup. So Rehan and Rehan Bukhari both played sensible innings after the loss of first wicket. So they played the milking singles and twos quite comfortably, and they were like 40 odd runs for loss of one wicket at the break. So, and after the break also, and Rehan Bukhari got run out, and Mansab got in. So after he got in, he took the main bowlers of knockouts. So he hit 2 sixes against Praveen Bangera and one, I think so, against Deepak Raj. He took the prime bowlers and he scored really quickly. The next 4 or 5 overs, Brownstone scored like 40 or 50 runs while he was in the crease. So that gave the momentum for the Brownstone. So once Mansab got out, and there is Adnan, he able to connect for a couple of big sixes, and at the end of the innings, they hit 2 sixes with the last 2 balls. So that's how they ended up really big score of 144. But if you take during that particular day, Brownstone took Knockers prime bowlers and they hit it out of the park. So once they scored 144 on the board, and for Knockers, they're able to score runs freely, but they lost wickets regularly. During the 8 overs mark also, they were in the game like 40 odd, but they lost 4 wickets. So they're scoring freely, but they're losing wickets. So at the end of the day, 144 is too much from any side chasing, and especially in the playoffs, it's a done deal after the first innings. So Brownstone outplayed definitely in the batting department and their bowling as well.
True, that's what I see. If you look at Praveen Bangera's figures, he gave close to 10 runs per over, 5 overs, 47 runs with 2 wickets. And Deepak Rajgiriappa, without any wicket, first time I see in little bit higher side, 5.20 per over. And
that's what I said. So Mansab took the prime bowlers, Praveen Bangera and Deepak. So I don't think so, but somehow Knockouts lacked the penetration as in the regular season against Brownstone. Probably that cost badly.
Okay. The next game of the night is Canton 11 versus Raptors. And Raptors did what they have to, they are capable of doing. Okay. Your thoughts, Abhishek?
Yeah, this game, I would say, the Canton 11ers have played they played so well this season. they've been on the top of their pool, and they've been on the top of the game as well. And I'm surprised, even they panicked, or is it probably the playoff pressure that they had, that they actually had to fail this game. And if you looking at the score sheet, I mean, they had 15 runs and for 6 or 7 wickets down, and by the during the break time. So it's kind of shocking by the way Canton Leveners have come up with this game. I feel bad for Raza Ali, who's been who's played so well this season, and he probably didn't find any support, and he succumbed to the pressure as well there. The only the good support that they've had was from the Haider and Mujtaba, who did put on a decent score there, 16 and 21, and then ended last supported by others, scoring another 13. If you look at the partnership, they've never had any partnership going, at least until the 6 wickets or the 7th wicket, except for the 28 and 13 and 24 in the last bottom innings of their innings. So it's similar. It reminds me of one of the game that Indus played, where all of the bowls team has failed, but we still ended up scoring 90. But when the whole team has failed and only one or two guys bats well, the morale of the team is still down. So probably that could have been the thing for the Canton Leveners after having such a good season, that they ended up only 92 on board, which is still a decent score that they could have fought with. But I probably think that the morale of losing so many wickets or so many batsmen for such a less runs must have affected their morale of the game, and did affect their bowling as well. Raptors, looking at their bowling, they were pretty decent. I'm surprised Harsha Reddy was on an expensive side. He's an amazing bowler that I've faced and I've played against, I would say. And I'm surprised that he's went above 5 runs per over in this game. And I see that Navpreet has bowled 6. I believe that the extra over that Navpreet got was also of Harsha's, and which probably had more runs even that Harsha Reddy ended up giving in. So apart from that, the only other concern for Raptors for going forward into this game would be the extras. The number of extras they've conceded is a lot, 19, I think, with 18 wides and one no ball. I think that's probably a concern for the Raptors. Though they won the game, I think they need to sit and look into that aspect of their bowling. Batting, they're pretty comfortable. Navpreet, as and when he always performs for Raptors, and he always performs for Sai's team at anywhere wherever he plays. And Amarendra started up pretty well. I mean, scoring 35 of 36 balls in a playoff game, going opening. I think that takes a good kind of confidence that you need to have in a player to come up with such scores. Looking at their partnerships again, this is something which is really interesting in me here. Is they had an opening partnership of 26 and a first wicket of another close to 40 runs. That's almost, they've covered 70% of the score there, and they had nothing to worry about at that point. When I would say Raptors won this game at a easy pace, and they scored in just 15 overs, almost 90 runs. They had their score always going in, and the bowling of it, like I said, Canton Leveners, they were never in the game except for the Haider coming up with 3 wickets there. I think they always felt that pressure, that they always felt that there's never enough score on the board after playing so well this season, and that must have affected this game from the Canton Leveners. Raptors again well played, pretty confident in this league, and they're going well in this league, so they're one of the contenders for this season, I would say. Those are my thoughts. Jagan.
Okay, and the next game is Panthers versus Blazers. Imti.
Oh, I was expecting you'd go to Jesse in the order.
Jesse, I don't see Jesse in the line, so probably he got disconnected.
No, I'm here, but I'll let Imti go ahead.
Oh, okay. I somehow you disappeared from the board. I did not.
Yeah, I had to dial in from the phone actually.
Oh, okay. Okay. Imti, you want to go?
Yeah. So I think this game was very straightforward. I think both the teams actually wanted to bat first, which was very evident during the toss. And luckily, Blazers won the toss. They elected to bat and put up a score of 100 plus 132 at the end of 25 overs. Thanks to amazing innings from Jasneet, who actually changed the complexion of the game, because at one point the total was only reaching around 100. But then the way Jasneet played in the end, scoring 40 runs of 31 balls with 2 sixers and 2 fours, that helped propel the score, I would say, to 132. He was well supported by Hari and Harish Chawa. There were like quite a few partnerships in the process, and also helped by some wayward bowling from Panthers, who gave 16 extras in the process, and ended up with a score of 132. Once Blazers had that score on the board, I think it was it was a very daunting task for Panthers, I would say, because chasing 100 plus in a playoff game always puts that extra pressure. But I think they started off very well. They lost initial wicket, the first wicket, very quickly, but then Shubham and Vaibhav put on a good partnership, and they stayed there, picking the scoreboard, and they were doing very fine, and slowly the pressure was building onto Blazers. But then getting Shubham's wicket at the right moment kind of gave some boost to Blazers, and then after that again a partnership was starting to build. But once that third wicket fell, I think Blazers kind of broke the partnerships at regular intervals, and they quickly went on to pick the 9 wickets. But then in the end, I think Deepak Mishra had some hit some big blows in the end, taking Naresh to cleaners with 2 sixes, 2 huge sixers. And at that point, it was a little again dicey, because few hits here and there sometimes can be tricky. And even though there was just 1 wicket in hand, the way Deepak was hitting the ball, it looked like he could hit a few more. But then luckily at the right moment, I think Mahesh got run out, and then that ended the Panthers' chase of that 132. In the end, they scored 100, got all out for 100, and it was a good game in the end. Blazers winning the game, like that's what matters in a playoff game, winning the game. But I think they need to tie their loose ends going into that quarterfinal game. So.
Okay, the last game of the night is GLCC versus Legends, and it did not live up to our expectations, at least. Your thoughts, Jesse?
Yeah, I think yes, it didn't. It wasn't a great contest, but I think GLCC dominated this game, and I think they came to the ground with an idea that they would like to dominate it, because they were ruthless when they started bowling. They started with the pace of Satish and Ajit. We all know he's a pretty good straight line length bowler with not giving too much to the batsman. He makes batsmen hit off the good balls. So that's always you are in a chance with wickets. But I think Satish, when he's on song, he can be the X factor that teams look for because of the way he's always hitting the stumps. And I think it gave the right sort of momentum to GLCC with bowling first and getting their openers cheaply. And Ajay, I think like Parag for strikers did, Ajay did for Legends, holding one end, but not getting support from any of the player. And I think the most consistent player for Legends in this season has been Venu. And I think when Samish, the captain, got that wicket out, when he bowled Venu out, I think chances of Legends making a good total was always going south. And I think then there was no partnership at all, and they just gave 8 extras. So this is a sort of performance by GLCC in their bowling department, which makes you feel that they were turned on in the right way, and they actually played the game like it was a playoff game, like it was it was so much on the stake that it cannot go wrong. And when you are so pumped up, when you have so much positive energy, when things starts falling into place. And I think Legends found it pretty difficult when in comparison to some of the regular league games that they would have played, that the intensity of a experienced team they are facing
I think it was just way too much. And once they were only up for chasing 45, uh, they had a pretty good start with Abhishek scoring 12 and Raj scoring 7. But after that, the regular stalwarts for GLCC, the very so technical Ashraf and the ever so reliable Ajit, I think finished the game pretty easily. And if you see the scorecard, they still some of the very best of the batsmen like Naseem, Sudeep, and Sudhir and Weber. I think all four of them can bat very, very well, and they still had a lot of betting to come. And I don't see Akash playing this game, so maybe when he'll be returning in the next game, it would strengthen the betting department. I think GLCC is up for challenge. I think they had some hurdles going into the playoffs, but it's that team has sent the right sort of message to the all the other teams who are about to face them that it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be the performance that you have seen in the league games. You're up against one of the teams who has won the championship a lot of times, and they know how to do it.
Okay, with that we have concluded all the games, and let's get into next round of game. I mean, quarterfinals games. But the one game where Blazers versus Brownstone, I have only one guy who can give his prediction. Okay, remaining three have somehow connected to this game. So before even I get into these predictions, I'll quickly read out some of the predictions I received from our DCL friends. Okay, the first one I'm going to read is Kishan Kannaganti from Glads, and he said Blazers, KRCC, GLCC, Glads are going to win the next round. That's what he said. And the Suresh Babu from Dynamite said that he's going to give, with the exception of Gladiators, he's going to give all other games to underdogs. Okay. So he did not clearly mention who are the underdogs, but he gave some analysis saying that if it is between Blazers and Brownstone, it depends on Jesse. And nobody else can win the game for Blazers is what he's saying. Okay, and Taifur Rahman from Glads, he's predicting that Brownstone, KRCC, Gladiators, GLCC are going to win. With that, I'll go to our analysts to talk about some of these analysis. Okay, the first game of the night is Raptors versus Gladiators. Raptors versus Gladiators is the key game among all 4 games of the weekend. I'll start with Jesse. Jesse, if Raptors have to win, what they have to do?
I think it's a beautiful setup. To be honest, if you would have asked me what contest would you like to see from the very start of the tournament, I would have said either Raptors versus Gladiators or Brownstone versus Gladiators. These 2 games I can pay for to watch. I think you asked what Raptors need to do. I think they need to be very, very disciplined with their bowling. When it comes to batting, with the bat in hand, I think Raptors, they have pretty good strength with Navpreet, Amar, Sri Teja, Pradeep Bota. I think they have enough resources with the bat. Though we all say that the bowling is the strength of Raptors, I agree to that too, but I really, really want them to be turned on in the right way, to be pumped up, to be disciplined. As Abhishek rightly mentioned, they cannot afford to give 19-20 extras in a game like Glads because they are anyways going to get after you. As soon as you are in their half, they are going to go after it. So first and foremost thing, I think any team that needs to that is playing against Glads is cut the boundaries. I know it's easier said than done, but as a bowling team, as a bowling unit, you think of plans. I think you need to come up with plans and what are the boundary balls? What doesn't a batsman who likes to hit boundaries like? I mean, you choose your areas, you stop the boundaries, you make them run, you make them play a good shot, but just get 1 or 2 and not 4 or 6. It frustrates a batsman who likes to play with a nice clip, who likes to play with the bowling, with the mind of the bowling. I think it's a batting lineup who loves to be fielded with boundaries. If you cut the boundaries, it would be a contest. It would be a great contest. That's the first thing. And if you make early inroads, you make some of the batsmen play like they don't want to play. It's all a matter of wickets. If you cut the boundaries, you get a couple of wickets. Some of the batsmen have to do constructive job, some the consolidation job, which throughout the tournament I don't think they had to do on too many occasions apart from one or two times. I think that's a big challenge for any team. If even if you are scoring 200 every time, when you are down 2-3 wickets up front, you need to consolidate because you cannot always aim for 150. When your chips are down, you have to consolidate. You first have to look for smaller targets, and that's the intelligent way of doing it. I think it's a great contest. I'll give it to Glads, but I think if Raptors can handle pressure, which they haven't done on too many times, if I can remember in the last 4 or 5 seasons, but I think if they would be cherishing one of the games that they want to prove a lot of people wrong, I think this is their chance.
Okay, very well said. And I just would like to give some stats about this game. Stats in the sense prediction stats. I have asked close to 50 people about this game, and there's only one particular members from one particular team. They voted for Raptors. Remaining all voted for Glads. Okay, and before I come to Imti for his pick, I would like to read out a few more predictions here. Glads, Blazers, Indus Thunders, GLCC. That's from Avinash, my friend from Pokeries, and Deepak Mishra thinks Brownstone, GLCC, Indus, Glads, and MI Rangers captain Shravan. He thinks Rockers has an edge over GLCC, and KRCC Indus equal, but Indus has an edge. Brownstown Glads is what he's predicting. And with that, I'll go to Imti quickly.
So again, Gladiators versus Raptors. I think Jesse summed it up well. But another key point that I would like to add is as we all know, it is Gladiators batting versus Raptors bowling. If you just ask me in one sentence what this game would be all about. And the other thing that I would like to highlight is both the teams would be itching to bat first. So toss will be very crucial in this game. I think whoever wins the toss would like to bat first, put that extra pressure on the chasing team. And I think it's very simple for Raptors. They just have to restrict all they have to do is restrict the Gladiators to a low score, and then I think Raptors has capable enough batting that they can chase down decent scores. So they just have to restrict and not let Gladiators to a flyer and a big score. That is what I think is the key for Raptors. But in the end, definitely Gladiators has the edge, and my pick would be Gladiators. But not taking away anything from Raptors, this is the best chance. If Raptors has to go all the way into the tournament, I think this is a best chance for them to defeat a champion team and move on to the next stage.
Okay, Ravi.
If Raptors want to win this game, there are two options: bat first and post a good score, and they try to defend it, or else if they're bowling first, try to get a top order of the GLCC. Sorry, Glads. But Glads have a much deeper batting lineup, but they have to take constant wickets. So that's their hope. But Glads has too much firepower in this game, and they do not have any conflicts with the F40 matches. So I hope Glads will be with the full team, and Glads will win this game.
There isn't anything called full team. And Glads, even if they make 4 or 5 teams within their team, we can call that one as a full team. Okay. Before I go to, so your pick is Glads. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Before I go to Abhishek, Sandeep Gopu thinks Glads versus Raptors, whoever bat first should win. If batting first scores at least 90, they are going to win. That's what he said. GLCC versus Rockers, whoever chases will win. Just my thought. And he is the one who predicted the Rockers versus Pokeries game. Whoever chases are going to win. And the chasers won there. Okay. And with that, I'll go to Abhishek. Abhishek, your prediction.
I think it's all about Raptors, how well they break the game down for the Gladiators batting. Like Imti said, it's going to be their bowling against the Glads batting. So Raptors have to have a like I just mentioned in my analysis, that Raptors are one of the good contenders, but they have to get through this hurdle of facing Glads if they have to go all the way in, like Inti said again. And for me, it's all about how well they can break down the batting of the Glads. When I say break down, I mean to have come up with a smaller plans, restrict those boundaries, like Jasneet said, cut those runs out, cut those easy runs out. Even if they get a boundary, the dots are going to be the crucial things that if Raptors can produce that, restrict Glads to a respectable total. And I think the Raptors have the capability to chase the game, to chase the game. So for me, it's not about I wouldn't completely agree. It's whoever bats first will win the game. It's going to be a crucial toss for both the teams, because I'm sure both the teams would like to bat first, but both the teams has the capability to come back in their bowling. So it's all about handling the pressure. It's all about how will they come up with a game plan for a game like this. So Glads again has the edge, but I think I will choose Raptors. I'll see how well they can do it. I want to push their team. I want to support their team. I want to see how well they can do it.
Okay, right now it is 3-1 Raptors. Okay, and with that, let's get into. Yeah,
Sorry,
please.
Jagan. One interesting I just remembered is I think this is the same matchup that happened 2 years ago. Quarterfinals, Raptors versus Gladiators, and Raptors was victorious at that instance. So,
Oh
just to
wow.
add it.
Okay, that's a nice stat. A nice booster for Raptors. Okay, and the biggest enemy for Raptors is their own team. Their own team who are not in the playing 11. They'll sit outside. They'll put a lot of pressure on their own players. Especially last week I was watching them. For every wide ball, more than the playing 11, the people watching, supporting them from outside, they are putting a lot of pressure on the bowler. Okay, that is something Raptors captain have to carefully control. That's been major issue for Raptors throughout their history, and which repeated last week, and I witnessed that. So I just want to give advice there. Okay, those who are going to watch that game, Raptor supporters, just sit there, watch the game. Don't put any pressure on your own team. Okay, with that, I'll go to our next game, Knight Riders versus Indus Thunders. I'll start with Jesse.
Yeah, I think another mouth-watering contest. I think, to me, if I have to actually predict this game, this is the most tough game for me to predict. I see so many similarities in both the teams in terms of strength. I have a feeling it because of the way that Indus Thunders, and while I was hearing you guys, everyone was saying that batting for Indus Thunders is of a little concern, but I absolutely don't buy that argument. I think what has made Indus Thunders a team so successful is their batting. They have been very consistent. I think Chetan has been putting up a great show, as has been Manoj for the last 2-3 seasons, and even in fact in this season they have been getting some very good starts. So I absolutely don't judge them by just 1 or 2 games. I think when the situation comes, they'll raise their game, and they have enough resources. The good thing I like about Indus Thunders is, unlike most of the teams, they what Knockers did against Brownstown throughout the season. Most of the balls were faced by Deepak Rajgiriappa, Shanmugam, and couple other guys. But what did they do in the crunch game? Deepak batted at 8, Shan at 9, and they gave the guys to be in the top 3 who absolutely didn't even play the season. They just played 2-3 games. Hemant was put under so much pressure. He went for I don't know how he got out, but it is unfair. It is no method for me. There has to be a plan, and a team that has better plan, I think is always having an advantage. And I think Brownstown in that regard outplayed Knockers. But coming back to this game, Indus Thunder has always had a method. They gave their best batsman a chance. They tried to take use of power play. They then focus on singles, keep wickets in hand, then again uh, propel the strike rate in the later half of the innings. I think it's a great game. On the other hand, KRCC, they have a very balanced unit. Most importantly, they have also, like in the Thunder, a unit who backs each other, who are buddies, who are friends, who have great bonding. And I think big games, Maulik tends to perform great. I am really looking forward to this game. I think this game for me has 55-45 advantage in the Thunders.
Before I go to Imti, I'll quickly read out some of the predictions. Ajay Butt from MCC Miles giving it to Glads, GLCC Thunders, and Blazers. And Santosh Kakulavaram of Tri Hawks giving it to Glads, Blazers, GLCC, and KRCC. Okay. And then Shiva of Chrysler is giving it to Brownstone, GLCC, KRCC, Glads. Okay, with that, I'll go to Imti. Imti, you might have observed their last game, KRCC versus Indus Thunders. It was very close contest. Okay, I was comparing both. I was comparing that versus these people team last week team. Okay, so there's little upgrade with respect to, KRCC team. Sahesh is playing, I guess, and he wasn't playing well. And another thing is Parag, his bowling figures were bad in that game. And for KRCC, the highest scorer was Ronak Patel. So you think this game is going to be different from that game?
Yes, Jagan, this game is a totally different ball game altogether, because one, it's a playoff game and it's a different day. And I think the KRCC versus Indus Thunders league game that you were talking about was one of those days where one of those weekends where KRCC were playing back-to-back games on the same day, if I remember correctly. And that could be the reason for that player, all the players that you see in the pre-quarterfinal game not played in that Indus Thunders game. That being said, I think this is like Jesse mentioned, this is one of the toughest games to predict, because I would say evenly matched teams based on the roster strength or the squad strength. And the only reason I will give it to Indus Thunders, my prediction to Indus Thunders, is because of going all the way in the playoffs, and they know they have extra edge, I would feel, compared to KRCC, where KRCC, I think, lacks in that department. Other than that, I don't see much of a difference that I can really separate the teams out. Definitely Indus Thunders for me.
Okay. Before I go to Ravi, and I just got a message from Brownstone captain, Rashid Malik, and his prediction is Glads, GLCC, Indus, Brownstone. And he also adds that, of course, I thought of saying this one, but he reminded me about this. 4 out of 8 teams are 8 teams in quarterfinals are from Pool C. Could have been 5 had Pokeris won, which was a closely contested game. Okay, he also stating that no matter what happens, 3 out of 4 in semifinals are likely to be from Pool C. That's what he's saying. Okay, with that, I'll go to Ravi.
My pick will be Indus Thunders because of their bowling strength. So has happened. So even though they scored like a 90 or 100, their bowling lineup are capable of defending the low scores. I'm not going to say they're going to defend like 50 or 60 runs, but if they Indus batted first and they score like 90 or 100, definitely the Indus Thunders have bowling lineup to defend that. And if they're bowling first, if they can restrict to less than 100, they have good chance of winning this game.
So who's your pick?
Indus Thunders.
Indus Thunders, yes, your pick. Okay. Before I go to Abhishek, Bhargav or Tamil Pasang, captain of Tamil Pasang, he's picking Glads. Apart from Glads, remaining all are going to be very close games. Yet he thinks Blazers, KRCC, Rockers may edge out their opponents. Okay, and Satish Gaba predicts GLCC a close game. KRCC, Glads, and Brownstone may have some edge over their opponents. Okay, Abhishek, your thoughts?
I think it's an even contest with regard to the bowling of both the teams, because I think one stat that we missed in the pre-quarters game of the KRCC is that of the 24 overs they bowled, they just considered 6 extras, and all the 6 extras came from one bowler. So the rest 4 bowlers literally gave no extras and all. So
That's an interesting observation. Yes, that's very key in any playoff game.
yeah, I mean, so coming with that kind of confidence in their bowling to this game is going to be the key factor for the KRCC. But again, on the contrary, like I think it was Jasneet or Imti was mentioning that I agree to their point when the concern of approaching the game of scoring 45 or whatever target that they were chasing uh, was a bit of a concern for me with the KRCC's batting approach, because they were too cautious. They didn't play well. They didn't bat up to their extent, I would say. So that given that kind of considering those points, I would say Indus Thunder's edge over the KRCC here. And Indus Thunders, I did mention that their batting has been a concern, but again, I don't think they're just going to fail in every other game that they're going to face. I'm sure Gopu, who's the main thinking head for the Indus Thunders, is going to have a plan, and I'm sure the other players are going to respond or reciprocate well with their captain here now. Indus Thunders, it's all about having a good bonding there. So I would say it's all about how well they come with no kind of pressure or no kind of past experience into this game, and I would say it's going to be an Indus Thunders game, 70-30, I would say.
Okay, so one observation I have is in Indus Thunders, top to bottom, if they reverse it, they play the same way in the batting order. I mean, in the performance, I'm talking about the performance. Okay, with that, I'll go to the next game. Next game is Rockers versus GLCC. Before I go there, I have 2 more predictions. One from captain of Kings 11, Vijay. Glad's Rockers Indus Blazers. Okay, the other one is from Legends captain Glad's GLCC Indus Brownstone is what he's saying. With that, I'll go to Jesse. Rockers versus GLCC.
I mean, with the kind of emphatic, coming from behind victory that Rockers had, I think those guys would be really, really pumped up. But the contest, I think they have in their hands. If I look at the bigger picture, if I go into details, according to my perspective, I think they are playing a much better opponent than Pokeries in GLCC, especially with the way they have come into the playoffs on the back of some couple of huge victories, and the sort of message that they have sent by absolutely dismantling Legends in the pre-quarters. I think GLCC goes into this game with an advantage, as for me, and they have in Samish, I think, one of the smartest captain I've come across in this league. The very, very sharp cricketing brain. I think they are in good hands. I think they'll be led very nicely, very positively, and they have enough resources. As I said, Akash comes back, strengthens their batting and bowling both. They know how to handle pressure situations, but not taking anything away from Rockers. They have a pretty good side. I really, really hope Narendra turns up for this game. He is a great cricketer, and somehow, whatever he's doing this season, he's having an impact. So I think if he plays, it makes a huge difference to Rockers' chances, and I really, really wish he plays. Just one thing about what I've noticed right throughout the season in GLCC's batting approaches. I think with the sort of resources they have, I would personally like them to take a little more chances up front in the first 3 to 5 overs, especially in the power play. Make use of it, take the game forward, put pressure on the opponent right from the word go, and then play a normal game. I think they can do a little better in the power play, especially in the first 3 overs. Apart from that, I think GLCC has an edge in this game, to me, 65-35.
Okay, Hinti, your thoughts? Your pick.
In this game, GLCC versus Rockers, I think this is most probably the game to define this game. I think it is Samish versus Sai, I would say, because both the teams are led by very good captains, and I think the team performs based, like I'm saying, like the way the captain leads from the front. I think the performance shows with the team. So what I'm trying to say is, like, if the captains perform well, I think the team does really well. So in this case, both the captains are leading from the front. They set the tone for the team, and just from a cricketing perspective, I think GLCC would have a little edge, again coming back to the same point of having experience, whereas Rockers playing together as a team for the first time, making it to the playoffs. They did very well in their very first playoff game, beating Pokeries, but GLCC is a different team altogether comparatively, with loads of experience and a shrewd captain in Samish. So Rockers has a daunting task, I would say, but just to add spice here, I think I will back Rockers here.
Okay, Ravi.
So from my point of view, this match can go either way. If the Rockers team played to their potential with their batting, they good chance of winning. But GLCC is not going to drop as many catches as Poker is, and they are good at fielding and they're good at bowling. So with that said, it's an edge towards GLCC, and GLCC is going to win this match closely.
Okay, Abhishek.
I think it's going to be Rockers' game because from the Rockers' perspective, I probably might not agree with Jesse's point when he said the opponent could be a bit different. From the Rockers' perspective, it's just going to be a similar kind of an opponent that they're going to face that they faced in the pre-quarters. So they just have to repeat what they've just done with Pokeries. And again, given the fact that they're qualifying for the first time, and they put up the team and they're qualifying for the first time, and they're coming in pretty confidently. I say they don't have much to lose in this game, so it's the confidence of the Rockers which probably is going to give. I will just give the edge to the Rockers on the GLCC, given that the confidence that they're having coming from the pre-quarters game. GLCC, on the other hand, we all know that it's a pretty well experienced team with one of the best captains in the league leading the side. So it's just that the Sai and his team has to just overcome Samish and his think tank to win this game. I would pick Rockers.
Okay, it's 2-2, 50-50. Okay, the last game of the night is Blazers versus Brownstone. Okay, I have to skip 3 people here totally. 2 from Blazers, 1 the Ravi is from he's umpiring this game, if I'm right. Am I correct, Ravi?
Yes, I'm umpiring this game.
Okay, so I don't want you guys to pick any side here, so I'll quickly ask a question. Either Jesse or Imti can answer this one. This is from one of the listeners. Okay. Can Blazers score 110 runs when they bat first? That is the question. Imti.
Okay, that's a pretty direct question in my opinion.
Yeah, so it's a direct question. In other words, so this is what he's predicting. If Brownstone win the toss, they will elect to choose. I mean, they'll try to chase. Whereas if Blazers won the toss, they will bat first. So either way, the toss will have no effect on the game because the Blazers wants to bat first and Brownstone want to chase that one. That's his prediction and his thinking. And his next question was, Blazers have to score 110 runs to win this game. Are they capable? Is the question. So I said I'll ask him.
So okay, again that is a very interesting thought because in playoffs, at least the general opinion is like bat first, put the runs on the board and put that pressure on the chasing team. But then again, I'm not sure why the person thinks that way, that Brownstone will chase. I'm not sure, but again, if you ask me as a captain, if Blazers can score 110, definitely we will try our best. Again, it's a different day, different team altogether, and Brownstone also has very good bowling lineup. So yeah, the intent would be, if we bat first, to score 100 plus runs. Yes.
Okay, so that's the answer. Imti is assuring that 110 runs is a possibility. Okay, and see, there is another observation against Blazers. Okay, in 20 overs, Blazers ended up giving close to 100 runs. Okay, so they have to tighten up their bowling. Jesse, do you agree with that?
I mean, 100% agree. To be honest, the way Blazers bowling lineup has bowled throughout the season, barring a couple of games against strikers, and if I remember one more game, I don't remember exactly the opponent, but uh, the bowling lineup of Blazers have been pretty clinical. The sort of areas they have bowled in, the sort of intensity they have kept throughout the 25 overs, not even taking the foot off the pedal for even 1 over, because everyone understands that it can change the game pretty quickly. But I think uh, the bowling lineup of Blazers was not even 50% of what they were capable actually. Uh, as I think Indus was saved by a dismal show in batting, but still managed to win. I think what brings a lot of hurt to Blazers team is they didn't bowl well. Everyone knew that, but still they ended up winning the match and getting a chance to play in quarters against a quality side lineup like Brownstown. I think the right observation was that we gave we gave 100 runs in 20 overs, which Panthers batted. But the important thing was to keep taking wickets, and that sometimes can happen when you go for wickets, that you can concede runs. But yes, if you ask me, we didn't bowl well, but that's one area which I'm not too worried about, because that's a one-off for me. Throughout the season, what I've seen is the bowling lineup of Blazers have turned up most of the times, and I don't think it's going to be an exception either in the quarterfinals also.
Okay, and before I go to Abhishek for his final say on this particular game, there's a suggestion from one of the top captains, champion captains is Imti and Vimal should open bowling for Blazers. Charan and Jesse in the middle. That's what the suggestion from one of the champions team captain. Okay, and Abhishek, your prediction.
I would say, given the facts that we had discussed a few minutes back with by MT and Jesse, I would say Brownstone has a slight edge over here, because leaving the bowling aspect out from the two teams, Brownstone's batting has been pretty decent this season, and Mansab has been leading the side with his kind of form in here. So, given the form that Mansab is in, and well supported by the other batsmen in the Brownstones team, they've been able to put up a score beyond 100 or 120 consistently. So I would say the Brownstone has a slight edge here, because again the Blazers have not bowled that well in the last game, and I felt that they were actually running out of bowlers at a stage, and they were searching for that kind of a bowler who could get back the game. So if they can control on that, then probably I would say that could be the go for the Blazers. Blazers on the batting side, I don't think they have any concerns. They bat pretty freely, so I would say. Someone asked that if Blazers can score 110, I would say definitely yes. Blazers have been the game kind of a team that plays pretty well in the playoffs game. But on the downside of the Brownstone, will be given their history of playing in the bigger tournaments. They've always been not up to the mark in the past. But given that the Mansab's form is pretty good this season, so I would slightly say that Brownstone has an edge 55-45 towards Blazers.
Okay, with that, let's conclude our show with the last words from our analysts. I'll start with Imti.
Yeah, all I would like to say is thanks to all our listeners for tuning in, day out, and like to wish all the teams, the quarterfinalists, all the best, and may the best team win. And hopefully, we get some good games and interesting games, and a lot to talk about in the next week's show. So, all the best to all the teams, and good luck.
Jesse.
Yep. Thanks to listeners for tuning in and staying with us, though we are late into the show. And all the best to all the quarterfinalists, all the players, all the umpires. Just wish for closely contested games, but no arguments, nothing that takes attention from cricket to some of the distractions, to some of the matters that are absolutely non-important. And wish to see you all of you guys again here next week.
Ravi.
Yep. Thank you everyone for listening, and good luck for all the quarterfinal teams. And as a spectator, I will be more interested to see how closely the contested will be. So I'm expecting all 4 matches will be closely contested. That will give DCL good boost.
Okay.
Thank you.
Abhishek.
Thank you again, listeners. I know we've been over the time again. It's been beyond 20 minutes, and thanks for taking out the time for listening to the show. Given the fact that we're coming to the closer stage of closing the season, and it's getting very, very interesting with the matchups that's been coming up for this weekend. Enjoy the games, and for the teams playing in, handle the pressure. Enjoy the game, guys, and good luck to all the teams. May the best team win.
Yep. End of the day, it's the game that matters, not what we said or we are going to say. So I hope every team plays well, and good luck to all the pre-quarter final teams. And with that, we will end show here. Keep listening DCL Talk Show on DCL Radio. Good night.